Can you guys hear me okay? How is everybody doing? I'm just setting up a little bit. Hello, Isaiah. Hello, Filippo. Hello, Benny. How is everybody doing? Greetings. I am just getting started. I will be critiquing this piece today and talking about capturing likeness, rotation, all that good stuff. Really, really interesting face you've selected here. And should be fun talking about measurements and seeing that before and after. So yeah, this is what we do here. I critique art, and I critique art submitted to my subreddit and my Discord. So to get your art critiqued, and I critique for free, and attending the live stream is for free. So be sure to subscribe and be sure to turn on your notifications so that you guys get notification when I go live. But go to istabrack.com and click on the subreddit right here, the icon right here. The spelling of my name is Istebrack, in case you just want to quickly go to the link without having to look for it. But all my links are usually added to the link tree or somewhere on the description. Anywhere I post it, I don't keep the links too far away. But if you go to istabrack.com, click on the subreddit icon, that's where you can submit your work for critique, or you can submit on the Discord channel right here. If you go here, it'll add you to the public Discord. There is a private Discord for patrons only. They get assignments, they get due dates. The assignments are a bit customized towards their skill level, and the assignments are high diversity, so we do all kinds of stuff. But that is a separate Discord. This is not the Discord I'm talking about. This is a public one that's free for everyone, and there's a critique channel there in that channel, in that server, and you guys can submit your work for critique there. That's where I've selected this piece today. Hello, Rohith. Let's get started for today. Let's talk about likeness. Let's talk about measurement. So one big part about being an artist is being able to draw a portrait. And a lot of you get a lot of things wrong because you are jumping right into it without any planning. The thing is that, you know, when it comes to things like living things and structural things, usually some thought was put behind it. I don't know about thought when it comes to living things, but I'm pretty sure the universe put some thought into our development. We need symmetry. There's structure here, just like you would see an architect putting thought into building, how to keep the building from falling, how to keep the building upright, how to keep things functional. The building needs to balance its weight. The building needs to do this symmetrically or that within this sense of reason in order to execute this function. So a human face needs symmetry in order to function. And sometimes asymmetry or issues with the joints, issues with functions in any way limits our ability to live like full lives. For instance, people who have an underdeveloped jaw or mandible can't eat. They literally can't eat and swallow and chew food. They have to have food directly added into their stomach. They can't eat. So it's not just about beauty. It's not just about the beautiful look within things. It's not just about things looking familiar, looking like a character. Sometimes when you guys make proportion mistakes, they translate into disproportionate, you know, anatomical deformities in real life. So when you are neglecting measuring, you are neglecting the very subject it is you're studying. To measure is to draw a face. Write that back. So right here, we can see you have a lot more forehead than in the reference. So if we were to break down the reference, what would be the most important lines? Okay, Istabrack, I'll measure. What are the most important lines to have? Well, the most important is going to look like Kratos in a second. But one of the most important lines to have is the symmetry line. There's the symmetry line that's traced on the surface of the face. And then there's the general symmetry line that floats on top of everything. Both of these have different functions. One of them is really good for the base structure. So we have the sphere, and then we have that kind of like the rest of the face. We have the cranium, and then we have everything that isn't cranium, I guess. That general symmetry line is good for that. So we would have this jaw, chin, and that general symmetry line. And then once we add features, then we start adding the eyes, the glabella, the nose. We start getting a more detailed symmetry line, a symmetry line that feels like we got a pen and traced it on top. Then there's the horizontal symmetry lines. Those lines are really, really important too. They help you locate where each feature is, and usually they're straight. They're straight in relation to the feature we're drawing. So we've got that. Look at all these features are perfectly symmetrical. Symmetry is part of function, so it's really important that we have it. So this sphere and this indentation of the sphere's profile are also very symmetrical. And sometimes the symmetry line isn't straight to us, it is straight to the face itself that it's on. So those horizontal symmetry lines can be slanted, but they're parallel with each other, but they're not straight in direct relation to where we're standing. We don't matter. What happens is what's on the surface. Okay, so when you get a ball and you draw a perfect cross over it, right? And then you take the ball and you rotate it, that cross will have a curved vertical line, but somewhat straight if you didn't mess with the ball's perspective too much. Somewhat straight horizontal line, right? If you just only rotate it on the x-axis. So that's what we're dealing with here. Then there is scale and proportion. So that's another thing. So you could do these lines all day and do them really well, but the face will still look weird because we're not really measuring. So let's do some measurements. Let's say that his forehead space, not his cranium, so from here to here, let's take a look at what that looks like for the rest of the face. Well, it's almost the entire length of his nose. If we were to overlap the lines, maybe not the entire length of his nose. I would say it's from his nose to his chin. Some people aren't proportionate necessarily. So we would say his chin would end somewhere right there. That's a decent spot for the chin. The chin could be even lower based off his weight. We take that forehead line and we duplicate it and we put it on its side. It's kind of a bad line that I drew. And we can see that the eyes generally fit in that space. And we use it to measure everything else. So you can't just draw vertical and horizontal lines and call it a day. You have to draw all the other lines too. You have to draw the lines that help you understand the ratios, the scales. So let's say you were lost in a jungle, but you had like, not a jungle, let's say like a wilderness of some kind. There's mountains, there's some trees here, and then you had a map, and the map said, well, you know, you can find your way out if you took the same distance from this tower to this tower 5 times to the east. And just bear with me. No, this is getting really, really ornate. Bear with me. So like, okay, so I know where this tower and this tower is, and they are 100 paces from each other. And I know where the sun is rising, and in order to get out of this damn forest, I'll need to do this 5 times over. 5 times, that's what I said, right? So I need to do 500 paces to the east. You wouldn't be able to get out of this forest because you'd have no starting point and no starting reference of how to get out of that wilderness. So you had a base reference. You had a system of reference. You had something random. It could be random, but it's consistent with the directions you had in that map. Okay? So that's exactly what it's like when you're an artist eyeballing from life, studying from life, eyeballing features, studying a portrait. You pick any measurement, it doesn't matter which one, but you use it as a reference system for all the other features. So this one, you know, this length of this eyebrow, This eye starts at the half length of this eyebrow, and this eyebrow and this eye are generally the same size. Then we've got the size of the forehead and the size of the nose, generally the same size. The size of the forehead here and the size of the nose are two completely different sizes. So you weren't doing any of that referencing. You weren't navigating through this ratio of sizes, the scale ratio, when it comes to the portrait. And that's why yours is so off. Instead of doing that, you focused more on the detail. So that's not good. And that's probably what stood out to you, his wispy little eyebrow hairs. But those are not important. If I got rid of them in the reference, right? If I got rid of all the detail in the reference, anything interesting, the structure would still be the same. The required structure would still be exactly the same. But if I got rid of your detail, excuse me, if I got rid of your detail, there really wouldn't be much going on. It would just kind of look like a potato. I can't tell what there's the nostrils guiding us through. How do we get rid of that potato look? How do we make things not look like a potato? Well, we have to have a lot more math and a lot more structure. And by math, I don't say like as if you need formulas and you need to sit there measuring. It's just general math. It's like visual math, okay? Artists do visual math. So what I'm going to do really quickly is start adjusting this face according to these features. Now I've duplicated the layer, and I have I'm also going to distort. Where is it? Pixelate. Mosaic. I'm going to distort this image as well. I'm doing that for a very, very good reason. I want to get rid of all the distractions. I want to get rid of all the detail. I want to get rid of everything that is causing me to be tempted to jump into the detail. Okay, so let's go back to your piece. Well, we know now that the forehead and the nose are not the same size. We know now that there is some serious stuff going on with the features. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start structuring this in that similar way. I know where my horizontal and vertical symmetry lines are. I know where the structure is. And I'll probably jump into liquefy in a second. So that's what's guiding my eye. That's what's guiding my mind while I'm working on this, is these changes. So filter, liquefy. So I'm just jumping into liquefy. I also ignore details while I am in liquefy. While I'm doing the structure, I mean. So we can see that the forehead bone sticks out further than the cranium, or the forehead itself, the eyebrow bone sticks out further than the forehead bone, sorry. And we can see that the cranium has a bit more scale to it. Okay, we can see that the eyebrows are not really that important structurally, but we'll just kind of toss them up. We can see that there's this edge that the head reaches. And indents inward to create this corner. And then it kind of rounds off in the back. And then we've got the placement of the eyes. Remember, these are horizontal lines that I'm looking at now. They need to be much higher along the face. And if you don't have your reference nearby like this, you're really throwing a wrench in your development. Keep the reference nearby so that you could properly explore all of this landscape of his face. Okay, and then we've got the nose. The way you've kind of structured the nose here is a little too low on that space wherever you've placed those ears. And then the structure of the nostril and that signature laugh line for older faces, so that age signature. Okay, and it's kind of a straight line. Doesn't curve around too much. Just draw what you see, not what you think you should see, or not what I don't know what else you would do. Just draw what you see. Okay, and then the other eye can be addressed at another time. And then I'm squinting my eyes. Squinting your eyes is a very, very underrated trick to be able to see what's happening. And upon shrinking the eyes, I just want to scrunch up the features together a little bit. I also want to raise that cheekbone. Squinting the eyes, again, blinds you to the detail. Blind yourself to the detail. Write that down. Make yourself blind to the detail so that you can really see what's there instead of all of these inconsequential, non-structural elements. You can see the structural stuff. Structural stuff is what you're actually blind to. You are naturally blind to structure. You are naturally inclined to see. You have 20/20 detail vision. You want to see the detail. The brain looks for the detail instead of the stuff that matters. Artists are doing the opposite. Artists are not looking for the detail. Artists are looking for the structure. So usually when you hear people talk about artists, they're like, oh, such detail, you know, you really get in there with the detail. No, 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 that's the easy part. The hard part is the fact that there is this underlayment of shapes that carry all the realism, if not most of the realism, if not all of it. And that's the stuff we really need to see. So now that I've removed all the detail from this extra reference, remember I made 2 copies, one that's pixelated, one that's not. I'm removing that contrast and I'm starting to block. And what I'm blocking is really, really specific. I am blocking around all of these areas that have their zones of shadow. Usually eye socket, as an artist that draws portraits, your first job is to, you know, figure out where that eye socket is. Find that eye socket. Keep your edges sharp and keep your values consistent. So this whole area is like this big visor of shadow. Just here. And just do it mercilessly. Throw those brush strokes in mercilessly. Don't be afraid. Because they are, again, the understructure, the most important things to maintain. Get rid of your highlighter there. And then I'm going to think about the secondary structures. So the sides of the nose, not that dark, but they are a bit darker. They're not that dark. They're dark in comparison to the highlight right beside them. And then there's this triangle shape. It's literally a triangle of upside down triangle of shadow for his cheeks. So I'm just going to add that in exactly as I see it. Draw what you see. Write that back. And then as I finish these structures, I can then explore the smaller structures after that. I can really start to jump in with the smaller brush, the smaller little zones of detail. But all that matters is this blocking and the structure. And you'll see it come together pretty quickly. But this is the stage a lot of artists don't have patience for because it looks ugly. This is not the pretty stage. And they want to hurry up and draw the detail. They want to draw the fun stuff. They really just have this. It's not really to insult you guys and call you adolescent, but I think a lot of beginner artists do have this adolescent need for entertainment that throws them under, like, you know, it throws their skill backward a little bit and makes it so that their improvement is very, very slow. Stop trying to be entertained by the form. Just do the form, and the entertainment will be in that process. So now what I'm doing is I'm finding all of that structure. Again, I'm not letting myself get tempted to add detail because the reference itself isn't even providing detail anymore. It's been completely interrupted. And then for the nose, the entire, like, the sub-nose structure is in shadow. This here. All right, I'm making sure the nose feels nice and rotated. I'm not trying to show the other nostril. You tried to show us the other nostril. The other nostril isn't visible. It's rotated away. Okay, and then we keep going, trying to figure out where those upper eyelids are, where the lower eyelid is. This is a very fun face to study. And just keep on going with the nose structure here. All right, and then that far eye area feels a little bit darker than everything else, like the light is coming in from the side, almost, not really, but it just feels like it's a little bit darker on that far side. And then there's just the details, and we can start thinking about details now that we have a good structure. So we can see that there is this more of a curved nature to the inner eyelid. In fact, you know what? I'm going to alternate. I'm going to take that. And instead, I'm going to make the undetailed one, the one that's attached to the liquify. Okay, so I'm just trying to find all of these areas here, make sure everything feels right, and then I'll start blending. I'm just trying to create that same kind of button nose. And all those things that are lines, all those line structures are not important right now. I'm only trying to capture the form. So his entire mustache area is like one big cylinder. And so I'm going to try to capture that cylindrical substructure of the mouth through that wiry beard as it emerges. And then right here, I'm building up that space right under his nose. Slowly building it up. And then there's that shadow under the nostril, and as it wraps around, but not quite in the same volume, wraps around the nose. And that cast shadow sits right under the nose, is one of the darker areas in the face. Limit the detail that you have access to. It'll make for a more graceful process because you're not tempted, and so you won't fall into it. You won't have these kind of, you know, unforgivable mistakes that really push your process backward and make you have to start all over again in certain areas. Or this big thing that happens to artists, which is they add too much detail too soon, and then they're worried about the detail getting damaged as they keep painting. You should not be worried about detail while you're painting. So now I'm blending a little bit just to get a good base. Actually, before I blend, I want to capture that side of that nose. It's very narrow and kind of pushes in like that. And we've got some highlighter marks just there, and like one brush stroke just there. And we've got like kind of a body of fat right above his laugh line. And we've got a couple more gradually climbing values. So I'm not doing all the highlight at the same time. I'm doing it in sections, climbing up as I go. And using highlights mostly to do the wrinkles. A couple of little highlights here and there for the eyelids, being again very careful, not doing them all at the same time. Now that I'm noticing I'm in this really fine area, I've zoomed in, I've shrunken my brush, I've reduced opacity. All those different things will help you have more control while you're drawing, so that you're not feeling like there's this too much happening with your brush. Your brush is very rough compared to the fine work you're doing. So you can, as you continue painting, alter and switch modes into a more delicate kind of detail mode. That mode that you actually think you're supposed to do at the start, or think that artists do, that kind of delicate detail work that artists are known for, that doesn't happen right away. You walk into that mode. And so now we are doing detail. Now we are thinking about structure. Right, and I'm cleaning up that edge in the back. And I'm thinking about this shadow right here. And then the shadow of the back over there, the shadow of that eyelid should just take one clean brush stroke. And you can control Z until that brush stroke is the perfect brush stroke for you. You don't have to settle for bad brush strokes. You can add and take away as much as you need until it feels like it's the right one. And then just over here, now that I have access to my brush, I am, instead of liquefy, I can really clean up the forehead and that whole forehead curve. Okay, and then we can see that we're missing out on some more midtones, and we'll fix that in a second. I'm reducing that amount of white. Like these lines for the beard, what was that for? It would have served you to just use one of these brushes and get that kind of textured look instead of whatever the lines you were creating. He didn't have a perfectly brushed beard. He had a very textured beard, very rough beard. And so using a brush like this combined with a smudge brush, both of these brushes can be found on my store. Both of these combined together will create that illusion that there's a very fuzzy beard in there. We want to create the illusion of texture. You don't actually want to try to paint every single little brush stroke. And that's where your mind was running into the issue when it was trying to problem solve. Your mind was like, okay, well, I need to draw this beard, but I can't draw every single hair. So let me change the style of the beard. That way I can draw straight lines. No, that's not how you problem solve around texture. You problem solve around texture by understanding what's required to make that texture read as that texture, which is you understand the minimum level requirement to make a texture feel like that. And that's just, it's surprisingly simple because it's just a magic trick. This feels like a fuzzy beard, but nothing about this is what a beard actually does in real life. As an artist, you're a magician to a certain level. You have to trick your audience into thinking they're seeing a texture that isn't actually there. Okay, and then I'm just cleaning up this forehead temple area and using my soft brush to kind of bring the shadow of his head out a little bit, gradually dropping the value toward the edge of the scene. Okay, and then finally the ears. The ears are very, very simple. You don't need to overdo it. You don't need to do too much detail. Get the scale of the ear. Your ear is very small. Get the scale of that ear. Get the main brush strokes of the ear, which is that initial top lobe of the ear, not top lobe, I'm not sure what to call it, that top little curve of the ear, the main section, that main curve. Get that highlight. Get the lobe and some extra little brush strokes here and there. And really, ears shouldn't be given that much thought because they're so outside of the focal point's line of sight. They should be there just because it would be weird to not have an ear, but they shouldn't be trying to be the eyes or the nose or anything like that. They should just be there silently. And then I'm just going to add a little shadow there. Excuse me. So now that we have all of this structure here, oops, what I'm going to do is duplicate the layer. Actually, I'm just going to drop the entire background value right on top. I'm doing this so that I can limit the amount of highlights I have. So that when I'm deleting in a second for all these highlights, I'm deleting for the sake of the true highlights. I want to make sure that wherever we actually need highlights, we have them. And we're not climbing all the way to white to get them. This means that we darken everything around them so they look brighter. Not just that, the midtones also benefit from this change. The midtones benefit a great deal because now we have more midtones. And to have more midtones is to have what? How about my usual students that usually hop onto these live streams? What does more midtones mean? Does anyone remember? Has anyone taken my master class? Has anyone? I'm sure you guys can answer this question. And so you can see darkening gives us more midtones. More midtones means more information. Beautiful, exactly. So that's it. That's what we're doing. The more midtones we provide, the more information we have. So now we have all of these wonderful midtones. We can add highlights and they'll really pop. All we really need to do is blend, if you even want to blend anymore, because it's really cool to show off all of these. People love seeing the initial brush strokes, the original brush strokes. People love seeing that. So even if you even want to, you can. I'm just completing the sphere here. Is this like canvas huge? Because these brush strokes are really struggling. They're like pushing my graphics card to its limit, and it's a good graphics card. Yeah, it's I think it's a big canvas. And then I'm just don't ask me what my graphics card is. My tech guy knows that. I don't know. I'm not that cool that I can just tell you the name of my graphics card like off the bat. Probably some kind of like GTX bull something. And then I don't know, Titan. I don't know. What's my graphics card? And then we have the so you can see this highlighter right here. This line here is a little too soft for my liking. So I'm just going to use the delete. Also, by the way, keep your delete brush or your erase brush or whatever, the same brush as your paint. That way you get the same texture over and over again. There you go. And then we have the little curve of the lower eye bag right there. Okay, so now we're going to add the purest highlights. Those are the ones that are just actually white, close to white, meaning white on the color picker. This is mega white. You never use this all the way. You never use this right away. You never use this early in the process unless there's some kind of like design requirement. But we usually limit that. And I'm just adding that in where I need it as a rough brush stroke as much as I've added it anywhere else. A rough brush stroke. I have not been blending. I have not been detailing. This is still preliminary stuff. And now I'm going to get pure black. Just like I got pure white, I'm getting pure black. And I'm using that to address all of these areas. But obviously, I'm going to reduce my feed, meaning the amount of black in my brush is going to be reduced. And I'm sharpening all of these overlap edges. And I'm bringing in lines where they need to be, meaning the eye socket line, the crease lines, the little pockets inside everything. I raise my opacity all the way up and use whatever value was left behind to create those edges. And guess what? Now I need the detail. Now I need the original piece, the reference that hasn't been pixelated, the reference that now can give me the detail I need. And the process starts all over. And we just have a great base, so we can just change our brush literally to a detailing brush. I'm using my pencil brush from my set, from that pencil set or sketching set. And I'm using that to discover where all this detail is. And now all this detailing has commenced, and now you're doing the thing that you were trying to do early on when you had no business trying to do it. Remember those little wisps in the eyebrows? Well, that shouldn't have even been visible if you didn't have structure yet in the face. You didn't have enough structure yet in the face. I didn't see the pyramid or the triangular prism of the nose or the cylinders of the mouth, not that the mouth is showing. or the spheres in the eyes or the cylinders in the eye bags or what have you. There's so many areas of structure that you were neglecting that you now can explore, that you now can ignore now that you've completed them to jump into detail. You did it in the wrong order. You did too much detail too soon. And all these overlap edges, the nose in front of the face, the glabella in front of the eye socket, all of these can be sharpened, like absolutely exhaust all your sharpening powers on them, because, oh gosh, my bird is on my mic. She might poop. Poop, please. Poop. Come on. Um, she is absolutely crazy. And just trying to find that shadow that runs along the tip of the nose. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. My bird landed on my mic, so it's gone into the void now. Nope, no blending yet. So I'm delaying my blending. I'm kind of just like really trying to control my temptation to blend. And all artists have these temptations. All artists want to start detailing. They want to blend. They want to start doing the dance, you know, that fun stuff. But not quite yet. I still want to capture a little bit more detail. And there's that detail, that shadow of the iris and that space of the eye just there. And so likeness happens accidentally. Sometimes it needs to happen intentionally, especially if the face is like unique and you really want to capture that likeness for some, you know, project or requirement. But likeness will happen indirectly as you measure for scale, as you get that ratio, that legend in the map, and you use it as your reference, that landmark, sorry. That's what's going to start happening, is likeness will just be a result of that really careful measuring. A big epiphany a lot of you will have in your skill development is, wow, there was a lot less art in the process than I thought. There was a lot more science in the process, but I was busy trying to make it artistic. Don't make the scientific process artistic, and don't make the artistic process scientific. So don't think too hard when it's time to be creative, when it's time to select colors, when it's time to be more free, when it's time to be wild and get ideas from random things. And don't try to be artistic when it's time to measure, when it's time to understand light and the physics of light. Don't try to do, as an artist, you're going to learn that there is a time and place for all of that. Okay, so I really hope you guys are listening to this, and I hope that when you guys jump into your next image, you are taking the time to explore all of this structure before you start to, you know, add detail and all that fun stuff. So there's a little bounce light line right above the nostrils. Hi, Lex. And there is a curve of highlight right into the nostril. There's a bit of shadow right under the septum. And there's the cast shadow. See this big cast shadow right here. And there's highlight on the other side of the nose. Just like that. And the highlight slowly climbs. And if you're too shy of your edge, just do what I do. Get a new layer. Do all you want in the new layer. And then just delete the overlap. And that way you can have your overlap, have your gradual tone, have your sharp edge, and not sacrifice too much. You're a digital artist. You have access to layers, so like use it to your advantage. And just over here. All right, we're still going. And I mean, I could blend if I want to, so I'm going to duplicate the layer. Not that I want to make this class about blending. I really don't. I want to make this class mostly about structure, but we can talk about what to blend. And really what you're blending is what's already really smooth looking in the reference. He's an old man, so he's got a lot of detail on his face. There's a lot more detail than there is smoothness, but there are areas that are smooth. There is some smoothness to be had there. All right, so I'm just going to jump into liquefy and correct some things here and there, like that dimple of his forehead is higher than his inner corner. There are some likenesses that I didn't capture. There are some other things here and there that are not quite the same. There's only so much time I have. I wish I had all the time in the world for these classes. It'd be really cool. But I'm trying to just show the main stuff that you should take away, from this class today. And to find the areas that are smoothest, what do? You zoom out. They'll really reveal to you what they are. And the side of the nose could be much brighter. The socket of the eye could be a little bit darker. Once you zoom out, all things are revealed. Go into God mode, I call it. I'm not religious or anything. I'm just referring to it like this overseer mode that lets you make really, really accurate conclusions about what's actually happening there. It's these assessments. Okay, and then we can see a really big chunky bit of fat right there. And what I'm going to do is create that gradual tone that sits in between, moving down slowly into that chunk. Sorry, the word chunk is so funny. And I love when words sound like the thing they're describing. And I'm just blending around, shrinking my brush when I blend around these larger areas of detail, and enlarging my brush when I'm entering, smaller areas of detail, and enlarging my brush when I come near to the smoother areas of detail. I'm sorry, I lost the poetry of what I was trying to say. Just increase the size of your brush when you go to the smooth, big, chunky bits, and shrink it when you get near the detailed, bony bits, okay? And detailing a little bit, blending a little bit over there. So all these soft areas, soft transitions. At the end of the day, everything is smoothened out in nature. His face has curves everywhere, but sometimes we want to omit some curves. We want to keep some stuff jagged for the sake of the brush strokes, for the painterly charm, for the showmanship kind of thing. As an artist, you want to be a little showy with your form. And then right here, there's like this little pocket, and this you really start to have this open opportunity to jump into the detail with way more care. There's like a little space between the wrinkle and the nostril, and I can explore that now, and it eventually combines with the nostril. There's like a little bit of extra shadow on that as well. Okay, and if I had more time, these edges would be way sharper. There'd be much more of a strict approach to all of this, and there would be like a little bit more time paid to attention paid to the gradual tones and the overlap edges. Of course, I'd be able to have the ability to add detail around the eyes. I'm really quickly trying to just add it in. Don't add it in too early. You can tell when you're rushing. It's so obvious when an artist rushes because they skip like 3 or 4 scales of midtones straight into the blacks, and it starts to look really, really the opposite of graceful. Don't rush into it too soon. Use black, but not all of it. Use the most of your black right when you're done, right when you're ready to say, I'm about to publish this. Like, I'm literally about to post it somewhere. I'm going to add the final little stitches of black, and that's how you're supposed to think about adding those in. They're not supposed to be coming in really early. Most of the black I've used so far is only a fraction. It's not the true value. Okay, and then usually when I do add black, I blend it out quite a bit. And I'm just trying to capture that super smooth upper eyelid look. Got like 15 minutes. So I've got some time to kind of try to explore this. This is how I would just do it if it was my own personal work. Now it's just that in and out, in and out. If you ever see my process, you'll see when I get closer to finishing my paintings, the zoom is like crazy. It's just jumping around. It's like really like a strobe effect. If you've ever seen my paintings, as I get better with the detail, I start zooming in a lot. Early on in this process, I'm really zoomed out, you'll notice in my process. And you can watch a lot of my old process videos in my other channel. This is a new channel that I've made, just experimenting a little bit. They told me that the viewers are all dead in my other channel. I have 100,000 subscribers, but they're all dead people. They're not alive. And so I thought maybe if I make a new channel, I'll be able to reach more people this way. Hopefully it's working. If it's not, well then fuck me. And I'm just adding a little bit here. And then fixing that cheekbone. I feel like it's sticking out a little too much. No, not you guys. Not you guys. You know what I mean? Like the general body of subscribers is not active. So I brought all my active followers here, and hopefully it does something moving forward. All right, and so there's more detail to do. I mean, there's the highlight of the eye. There's that little highlighter just there. There's that gradual tone that sits on the upper eyelid's fold. There's the kind of very thin line that the bag of the eye starts off at and moves out into a bigger, wider, open kind of umbrella effect. Just like that. And slowly but surely, all of it is coming together. There's this like little window of bounce light just there. Just there. And I'm trying to capture that as well. Just sitting under the eyebrow for that ambient effect. And then there's the shadow of the eyebrows, which as you can see, we don't miss them, we don't need them. But if you really wanted to, you can add those wispy little 1 or 2 eyebrow hairs back. And those ones that I took out at the start, you can add them back just to show their presence. I'm not mimicking what I see in the reference at all, and then I'm blending away the majority of the start and end of those eyebrows. And because it's an older gentleman, you want to keep it unblended for the most part. And I'm just using my sharpen tool to bring out the texture of my brush strokes. And I'm just waiting for it to render, because this canvas is freaking huge. And just doing a little bit more, like combining the shadow of the nose with the cleft of the mustache, and that will create this this same kind of expression almost. And adding another little shadow to express how rotated that, I mean, I'll even draw it as a triangle like that. Rotated that lower cheek is. You see how I've zoomed out when I have started to work at larger sections or bone structure or blocking. As soon as my blocking brush is in my hand, and these brushes can all be found in my store. As soon as this blocking brush is in my hand, I'm out. I'm out of there, because I know that I need my vantage point to be at like a sniper kind of position. I need to be really, really far away in order to get that accuracy. And a couple more things. I mean, some of these things can be interpreted abstractly. They don't have to be made one-to-one. His nose could be a bit bigger in ours, Our guy could have a bit more of a bulbous nose with a shine marker on it. We can exclude all of the detail as a dark value, but keep all the detail as a light value. So all of the wrinkles can be expressed with the highlighter part of the equation. We can choose not to blend certain brushstrokes for the artistic effect. We can keep brushstrokes pretty raw, even in the highlights, just so we can create this artistry. And then I'm just kind of am tempted to throw a bit of that highlight on the other side, even though it's not there in the reference. Like, this is where you start as an artist, being more creative with the form. Do you see what I mean? Like, it's not necessarily there in the other one, but it expands on that for the edge. Sorry, I forgot my words for a second. And then the beard. So the beard has lighter areas in it, and so I'm just getting that crazier of my detailing brushes. Like, if I press hard, I get the full silhouette of the brush. But if I press lightly, like, this is full silhouette of the brush, really hard, and this is the brush when I press lightly. And the more I press, the more these crazy effects. I don't know, how I built this brush, but I really love what happened because it lets me create these really, really nice silhouetted textures, which is exactly what I need. Silhouette of texture. I don't want a big block. I just want those little gritty bits to create texture sometimes when I need it. And I'll use it on the beard. I'll use it. It's a really unruly brush, but damn does it do the job when the job is there. And I'm trying to do that and do that. And then, of course, with every single brush I include that has a stencil texture of any kind, it must be followed with a smudge brush. You don't want to just add in, it gets cheesy, very, very corny, very, very quickly when you overuse textures or texture stencils in any way. You want to, no homo, but like, bro looks hella sexy. Oh, right, I need to switch it's just the brush, yes. So I'm just stippling that hair stubble, and actually I'll do it in a new layer, that way I'm a little more safer, and a little more safe, and just trying to include it in some level so that it's there. And then at the very end, sometimes I will mess with my own values. Like, maybe I'll bring in levels, really mess around with the contrast. I'll sharpen, filter, sharpen, or unsharp mask. All of those things help bring out the textures I've added. Those things just get rid of some of the detail. Get rid of some of the fuzziness, and then I'll follow up with that brush that smudges out some of the detail. Even though this brush has some detail in it, some smudging in it, it does lean a little bit on the over detailed side. So I'll leave some areas unblended. Let me give you a quick little trick. Sometimes when you unblend, keep things unblended, your viewer will want to blend them, and it will make them look at the drawing more. I'm not kidding with you. This actually fucking happens. When you don't blend some brush strokes, you leave them unblended, the eyes of your viewer cannot leave your image. Like, they will not leave the canvas. They will stare because they're like, God damn it, why didn't she blend it? But why does it look so good? And that's something that I discovered later. I'm like, the painting looked better when I didn't blend, but the urge to blend was still there. And I noticed I was doing that with other images and other paintings from other artists. And I was like, what is this, urge to look at the painting, look at an unblended brushstroke? It makes it more interesting to have unblended brushstrokes, because in your mind, you're blending them. And so if you're in your mind, you're looking at the painting like that, well, that's the point of the painting. That's what's happening, is that you can't look away. And I think that was the charm of Impressionist painting back then. I think that's the point of it, is that they left it very Impressionist. They left it very unrepresentational. The objects weren't quite the objects that were intended. And that made it more charming because they didn't have that direct detail that took away, that gave it too much reality and took away the charm. And so sometimes you can have something as representational as an old man's face. You can just, there's a lot of anatomy measurement we did, but the charm is there as well, in that we didn't blend. We left some things kind of unblended, creating that urge to blend them, make them more interesting. Okay, so that's it for today, really. That's all I wanted to do. I hope this was educational for you guys. Let me take a look at the before and after. I believe we've lost the original, the side by side before the painting was done. But let's take a look at how it looked like before. So before, how do I do this? Here, let me do that, and then go here, and then paste it, and then give me a second. This is not, oops, this is not what I intended, but let's see what happens. All right. So we've got the original. Oops, we've got the original right here, and then we've got this. And then I'm just going to overlap them so that, you know, we can see what was happening with yours. I'm going to get rid of that pink random background. And then I'm going to add the background. Oh, that pink background's still there. Okay. So now we can look at the before and after properly. Okay. So before, okay, after. And let me separate this dude so that we can take a look at the reference while looking at the before and after. Before, oops, before, after, before, after. How did we achieve all this likeness? How did we achieve all of this rotation, this anatomy? The whole process is right here for you to look at in this video. The whole process is right here to observe in your in the time lapse. You can speed it up, watch it again, look at how I found landmarks, I found symmetry lines, and I adjusted to them. I just blindly trusted them. I jumped in feet first because it really isn't a risky jump at all. These symmetry lines and these lines are like lifelines. They're bungee lines. You got your harness, and you know, but you were the one who was jumping. Actually, now I'm pointing at the original artist. I think it's DHT on our Discord. You were the one who jumped without any harness, without any lifeline. You jumped right off the side of the mountain, and then you expected it to work, and that's why you had so much detail rushed. No structure in the nose. I see no geometric shapes. There's geometric shapes all over. And you have to start doing more form studies so that you can see these geometric shapes everywhere you go. To see these geometric shapes is to be an artist. That's the point of all of this. You are starting to see geometric shapes everywhere, and so you start to pick up on all of the behavior of the light everywhere that the geometric shapes happen. Okay, so once you see them, you know where your block stops, you know where your brushstroke starts, you know where this is a cylinder right here, you know where all of this needs to be. But if you don't have form study view, if you don't have geometry schematics in your view of things, you have not yet crossed the line. Once you do those forms, there's no going back. There's just a line every artist crosses. It's like a little, it's a sign, you know, and every artist is a beginner up until they cross that line. And you could be really good at drawing anime faces to the point where you're making lots of money from it, you're selling, but still you don't have it quite yet, that skill. And this line that you cross is the form studies line. Once you start seeing everything as cubes and pyramids, and you will never be sidelined ever again by some kind of random study. Once you cross it, your brain is just like expands and it just becomes mega mind. You can be an artist and you can be really good at what you do, very stylized, but it's on this side of the line. Some artists can stylize and be on this side of the line, and they, I think, are the best anime style hybrid artists. They're the ones who can combine and marry form and style together. Um, but if you're going to be on this side of the line, you're going to have these kinds of studies happen. You are capable of, look at the blending that you're doing. Look at the control that you're doing. That's a great edge against the background. You are capable of drawing cubes and spheres. You are capable of this, and you will get there. But you won't get there without giving your brain some kind of learning tool. A brain needs a learning tool, and the learning tool here is the symmetry, the vertical and horizontal lines, and all the things that we've covered today. Before, after, before, after. Thank you guys for watching. Do you guys have any questions at all before I let you guys go? I can give you guys like a minute or two before I hop off. Oh, thank you so much, Sakosma. And this was done under an hour. She's reading chat and explaining the whole way through. Oh, thank you. You guys are so sweet. It's not just that artists need a way to compete with perfect detail, so they went the other direction by under detailing. Thank you guys. Thanks everyone. But do you guys have any questions before I head out? I'm just gonna quickly get my links ready. So if you guys want to get your work critiqued, the work I critiqued today, this study was found on my Discord, my free to join open public Discord where I hang out every single night with my homies. So if you go to istebrak.com, istebrak.com, and you click on the subreddit icon right here, that'll take you to my subreddit, and this will take you to my public open Discord. I have a Patreon. It's paid $20 a month for apprentices. There's also other tiers if you want to support the channel, but the $20 tier, the apprentice tier, will provide lessons. There are critiques, there is homework, deadlines, all of that good stuff. And that will be available for everyone. If you want to join, you can cancel at any time. I do have a master class. If you want to learn more about portraits, if you want to kind of do the things I do during painting. What's blocking? I talked about blocking a lot. You get my brushes in this set. You get everything, and it's 50% off right now. It's half off. So if you want to kind of understand portraits the way I do have a master class that covers all of this. And at the end, you learn how to paint a pretty girl, pretty face. So there's that. And you can use this face, kind of an industry standard face to start with. It's a good starting face for those who want to get into portraiture. And I teach you forms. You can be a beginner and buy my master class. You don't need to be an advanced student or intermediate advanced or middle intermediate to buy my class. You can buy it even if you've never picked up a brush before. You'll still learn about form. You'll still learn about my theory and my approach. You'll still learn about radial shading, which I used a lot today, and I haven't really mentioned it that much. You'll still learn about texture control, illusion of texture, all of that stuff. And I even have a listed version of the masterclass to go along with the videos. All of that is available on my Gumroad. Thank you everyone for watching today. Thank you so much for your support, and thank you for coming out to the live streams. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys next time on, oh, it's already Thursday. How the heck? I'll see you guys next Tuesday at 4 or 5 Eastern, p.m. Eastern time. And hopefully we can start talking about Sketchtember very soon. Usually August 1st is when I get Sketchtember fever. I don't know if you guys know about Sketchtember, but we use all of September to draw. And I usually announce my Sketchtember plans around the beginning of August, so keep an eye out for those. We draw every single day for all of September, which is really, really cool. I stream every single night. I'm going to be hosting it in the new channel. So please spread the word, and also please subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. I don't say that enough. I'm sorry. I just don't feel like I don't know. I don't know. But please like and subscribe. This time around, I'm gonna ask for likes and subscribes for my new channel. I really appreciate you guys coming out here. Bye everyone. I'll see you next time.